What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks, and today we're doing a deck tech on Kairi or Hidetsugu and Kairi. Yes. Now, these guys are honestly pretty broken, and the first thing I thought of was like, let's cast Appropriate from the top of our library for free. And I built that deck, and it's honestly something I don't want to put into the world. So we went a different route. We're going to cast fun value spells and, just create 13 zombies out of nowhere instead. That seems to be a lot more fun and honestly still broken. So, we're going to blink our commander to the moon, we're going to sacrifice our commander for value, and he's going to re-enter the battlefield due to our Feign Death effects. Additionally, we do run Shark Typhoon because making a 10/10 flying shark is something everybody needs to mark off of their bucket list. So, if that sounds like a deck tech you'd like to get into, let's get into it. Let's start off by talking about those massive spells we cast, because let's be honest, that's why you're here. Breach the Multiverse, a new fun card that makes everybody mill 10 cards, and then you just choose a creature card out of every graveyard and throw it onto the battlefield. That's a 4 creature payoff right there. I like it. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise are solid staples in these big spells matters decks, right? These give you card advantage, you can lower the cost, and we can deal a lot of damage to our opponents using them. Aminatu's Augury is going to be insane in this deck because we're going to be stacking the top of our library with our commander's ability. Army of the Damned, Clone Legion, and Rise of the Dark Realms are all going to give us an instant board state and honestly deal a ton of damage to one of our opponents in the process. Mnemonic Deluge, copying Army of the Damned 3 times is going to be insane. Additionally, Clone Legion, we just get 3 times someone's board. I'm in there for that insane magic. Seagate Restoration is going to be super solid in the deck. Now, if we get it early game, it's not a dead card, and late game, it's a monster. In Garrick's Wake and Plague Wind are just going to destroy all creatures other than ours, so pretty solid. Our board state is ineffective, and they have nothing. Not to mention, someone took 9 damage to the dome. While they're not big spells, I thought it'd be fun to include these cards at the end of this category just to show how absurd this can get. We were running Shark Typhoon, Metallurgic Summonings, and Decafractal Theorist. Now whenever we're casting those massive spells, we're getting a massive creature token that goes along with it. To consistently cast those massive spells, we're going to need to set off our commander's ability consistently, right? Well, it's a die trigger, so it gets a little tricky, but let's get into it. We have Blade of Selves. I really like this one because our commander does have evasion, so all we'll have to do is attack one of our open opponents, and we're going to get 2 of those Brainstorm triggers on top of 2 of those die triggers as well. So you'll be able to stack your library with those instants you want on top of your library, and then cast both of them. Pretty awesome. Mimic Vat, a super solid card. We're going to go ahead and imprint our commander with this, right? Now we're only casting our commander for 3 mana. We get that ability consistently every turn, and all we have to do is make sure we sacrifice him before Mimic Vat exiles him, getting that die trigger. Rite of Replication. This one's super flexible, right? Early game, we can cast this for 4. Due to the legend roll, we'll get his ETB, and then the legend roll will kill our copy, so we'll get both triggers off of that. And late game, we can just make 5 copies of our commander, and then go ahead and we'll get 5 cards off of the top of our library. We'll be able to stack the top of our library, and then we're going to get 5 free spells from the top of our library that we just stacked. Pretty solid. Feign Death, Malakir Rebirth, Supernatural Stamina, and Undying Malice is going to make our commander come back onto the battlefield after we sacrifice them. That way we don't have to pay that pesky commander tax. Nim Death Mantle and Resurrection Orb work in the same way, right? Plus, there is a way to make this go infinite in the deck, and we can enjoy some fun shenanigans like casting our entire deck, making our opponents take a ton of damage, and just winning the game outright. Urte the Resurrected. This guy's super solid, right? Not only can we use this against our opponents, but we can blink this guy to oblivion, right? Sacrificing our commander, drawing us a card, and setting off that ability. Ruthless Technomancer, another guy we want to blink to the moon, right? Additionally, when we sacrifice our commander to this guy, we can just get 5 treasure tokens. And don't forget, we are making some massive tokens with Shark Typhoon and Decafractal Theorist as well. So just blinking this guy for a lot of treasure tokens to outright cast some of those bombs is going to be a pretty good option as well. Ruthless Knave is in here literally just to sacrifice our commander and possibly build up a huge influx of treasure tokens. That way we can have a massive turn, or like I said, cast one of those big spells outright. Ghoulcaller Gisa, I like this girl. Sacrifice your commander, boom, you get 5 zombies. I'm in for this zombie insanity. Vasir, just a super solid sack outlet. You're going to get the scry off of it, and it's going to cost you nothing to sacrifice our commander. Cut the Prophets, another card we can use to sacrifice our commanders and draw a ton of cards. Lastly, we have High Market and Phyrexian Tower. Now, you never want to be left without a sack outlet in this deck, right? If we're not able to sacrifice our commander, you can bet your opponents aren't going to go ahead and kill it for you. And worst case scenario, you find yourself with a handful of big spells you can't cast and you do nothing for most of the game. So that's why we include all of these sack outlets to make sure we'll always be able to kill our commander in some way, form, or fashion. Let's get into our Blink sub-theme. Because our commander does have Brainstorm tacked onto him, we might as well abuse that. Thassa Deep Dwelling, just a solid thing that's going to be indestructible and it's going to blink your commander once a turn. Super solid. Deadeye Navigator, this is the guy that can go infinite pretty easily with the Technomancer, Nim Deathmantle, and your commander, right? All you'll have to do is sacrifice your commander to the Technomancer while the Nim Deathmantle's on the battlefield. That'll net you 5 treasure tokens. Use 4 of those treasure tokens to blink your commander, put him onto the battlefield, and now Nim Deathmantle is attached to your commander. Go ahead and blink the Technomancer with Deadeye Navigator. That'll go ahead and kill your commander again. Now his power 7, so you're going to go ahead and create 7 treasure tokens. You only need 6 mana to continue this loop, so enjoy infinite mana and casting your library while your opponents are dying to all of those spells you're revealing off the top of your library. Fun magic, guys. Pretty fair. Tefari's Time Twist and Essence Flux are just instant spells that go ahead and blink your commander. I included these ones because we do have Isochron Scepter in the deck, so equip these onto Isochron Scepter, you're blinking something every turn. Displacer Kitten, super solid, right? When we cast those instant or sorcery spells, we're blinking something, whether that be our commander or one of our ETB creatures. Sword of Hearth and Home, another solid option, right? Not only does it give our commander some protection, it gives us some ramp, it also blinks our commander. Blinking your commander will go ahead and unequip the sword, so basically don't have it equipped to your commander if that's what you're blinking. 10/10 Sharks with Flying need swords too, guys. I'll just go ahead and throw in some solid ETB triggers we have at the end of this section. We have Solemn Simulacrum, Meld Web Curator, that way we can put an instant or sorcery card back on top of our library. Super solid because then we're just going to cast it for free with our commander, and you know that spell's going to be massive. Archaeomancer, not as good as the, Meld Web Curator. I know that's kind of weird, but honestly we want it on top of our library, so we will have to jump through some hoops with this one, but it's still a solid card in the deck. Additionally, we do have some low CMC instant sorcery spells that she can grab. Lastly, I just wanted to reiterate how good Urte Resurrected and Ruthless Technomancer are now knowing that there's a Blink sub-theme. Let's move on to some of the support cards of the deck. We have Mystical Tutor and Vampiric Tutor. I like these tutors because they go ahead and grab a card and they're going to put it on top of your library. That way we know exactly what we're getting with our commander's trigger. Swiftfoot Boots, this is going to protect any of our key pieces, notably not our commander because we don't care if he dies. Carry the Swirling Sky, we can either bounce our opponents back to the Stone Age with this, or we can go ahead and bring those instant and sorcery cards back to our hand. Isochron Scepter, there is a ton of 1 to 2 CMC spells in this deck that can just utilize Isochron Scepter, such as Counterspell, our removal, then we have our tutors, we also have our Feigned Death effects. There's just a plethora of things that we can go ahead and exile under this, so it's a really solid card to just throw in here. Fabricate has a lot of really good targets in this deck. Sword of Hearth and Home, we have your Nim Deathmantle, whatever you need at the time. This card's pretty flexible. Glasspool Mimic, I like this because it can either be a land or a free commander trigger, right? If you copy a legendary creature, you got to choose one of them and the other one dies. That's just going to set off that ability to give us something broken off the top of our library. Let's get into the card draw of the deck. We have Teferi's Ageless Insight. This card's absolutely broken with our commander because of the wording. It says draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards back on top of your library. Well, enjoy drawing 6 cards and then putting 2 cards on top of your library. Yeah, that's pretty fair. Windfall and Dark Deal are super solid cards if you just find yourself with a bunch of big bombs in your hand and you can't cast anything. Well, now you can will those away, get a new fresh grip, and you're off to the races. Archmage Emeritus, now whenever we cast one of those instant or sorcery spells, we're also drawing cards. We do run Brainstorm just in case, we do have to set up our library or one of those big bombs ends up into our hand. If we have a way to kill our commander, but we don't have a way to blink our commander, Brainstorm does come in handy. Frantic Search, again, we're just trying to get through our library with this one. A really good card to have in your hand early game. Moving on to ramp, we have both of the signets with Arcane Signet and Dimir Signet. We run Wayfarer's Bauble just because it's super efficient. Soul Ring, obviously, Charcoal Diamond, and Sky Diamond. I like these almost just as much as the signets, especially in a 2-color deck. Lastly, we have Talisman of Dominance. Moving on to the removal. We have your standard counterspells with Counterspell, Negate, Saw It Coming, and an Offer You Can't Refuse. This will make sure we can protect our board state when we do have that massive board of zombies or whatever we need to protect, right? Curtain's Call is going to be a solid removal card because when we flip it from the top, it's going to deal that 6 damage, and if we have it in our hand, it gets massively reduced in cost. Go for the Throat, solid removal spell, and Hagra Mauling. I like using these MDFC cards in this deck particularly, right? Because again, their land or their damage off the top of our library, they can be one of two things and it's pretty solid. Lastly guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this deck and the overall build of it. Honestly, I think it turned out pretty solid and it's a pretty fun deck to play. You can find yourself with a board of 13 zombies as soon as turn 4 and it's pretty crazy. Be sure to check out my other deck techs if you haven't already. I did a Barbarigmos and Fibblethib one. I also just finished a Zimone and Dino one that can be pretty insane on a budget. So, as always guys, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I'll see you in the next one.